Alrighty, well, today's video was going to be the straightening and polishing of a hand-forged katana, but that is not going to happen because the katana I was going to straighten and polish is right here. The last 4 inches of it didn't harden, and I didn't realize that until I was done with the straightening and I had begun the polishing. So, instead of this lovely katana, we're going to forge our new one. So here's what we're going to be starting with. This is 1095 from New Jersey Steel Baron. It's 1/4 inch by 1 inch. It's 48 inches long. We're going to be using most of it for this katana, so I'm going to stick this in the forge and we'll get started. This is the old blade here, and I want to make the new one a little bit taller, and when we forge it, it's not going to have this nice curve in it. Katanas are forged straight and they get their curve in the quench. So we're going to start up at the tip with our forging, and we're going to work our way all the way back to the tang. We're going to start off with the rounding side of our hammer, and then start working down the tip. Alrighty, here's a tip for you. There it is. Let's keep going. I think the traditional way they would form the tips on these katanas is they would cut them off at about 45 degrees, the opposite way they wanted it, and then forge it back up so that the grain of the steel runs. I don't really know. This build is only going to be traditional incidentally. Parts of it will probably end up looking sort of traditional, I guess, but only when it kind of suits me. I'm going to start gently pre-forming the blade, because when we forge it out, we want it to be straight. Hammering the bevels down is going to want it to make it banana. So I'm going to pre-form it, and then I'm going to leave enough thickness on there so there's a little room to kind of fudge the numbers, but we want it to be straight when we're done forging. Alrighty, so this little section here has pretty much been forged straight because we bananaed it that way, and now it's bananaing back that way. But I want it to be taller than the old one was, so I think I'm going to need even more pre-form than that to pull the bevels out further and then still have it remain straight. What the heck happened here? Okay, we're coming up on the 3-foot mark, so I'm going to pull it out and hot cut in the shoulders where the tang will start. Alright, so the main forging is done. I'm going to go back through and start cleaning it all up. Get it straight, get the bevels nice, and then we'll be done. Alrighty, it's done. So you can see I forged it straight. It's straight this way, and it's also straight, relatively straight this way. I was able to forge in most of the geometry on the top. A lot of that's going to kind of get tree topped when I flatten out the top to make sure everything's nice and straight and parallel. But I'll hand file the rest of it in, and for a first attempt I'm pretty happy with how forging that geometry in went. The bevels are a little biased to one side, just the way it was forged, but there's a little wiggle room, and I think a lot of that can get ground in nicely. One of the problems I think I'm gonna have is I cut these shoulders in for the tang a little too deep. You can see that right there is pretty deep, and I don't want that to be a stress riser later on, but I'm probably gonna end up walking the tang a little bit further forward so that's not so steep, and then grinding into this to reduce that as much as possible. But the next step will be knocking off the scale, giving it a distal taper, grinding it so that it's just the right thickness for heat treatment, and then we'll move on from there.